Have we officially seen the end of the vision? It definitely is starting to seem like we have officially seen the end, but we haven't gotten a full concrete answer as to if the vision is officially done or not. Obviously, we've seen members of the vision on recent episodes of Monday Night Raw where we saw Paul Heyman by himself with Brock Lesnar, we saw Austin Theory by himself, and obviously we didn't see Braun Breaker, who was obviously probably tending to his injury that he suffered in the steel cage match against Seth Rollins, and we are still eagerly awaiting the kind of anticipated return for Bronson Reed at this point. And obviously Logan Paul is still injured. It's still weird that he's in the vision, but whatever. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look into the vision. And if this is the end of the vision, we're going to see why it failed. And I'm going to ask the question whether or not the vision should keep going or not. But real quickly, before we get too far ahead in the video, I want to say that if you are a WWE fan, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. That is all we post is WWE related content. So if you are a WWE fan, again, consider subscribing. It's free. You can always change your mind later. So let's start off by talking about the potential that the vision initially had. And it started with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, a combination that we weren't quite sure how it was going to work at the time, and it felt like it kind of worked, but looking back on it, I never really felt like it truly did work. Because Seth Rollins was never really the guy who needed someone like a Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar, obviously, yes, he needed Paul Heyman to work with his promos. Roman Reigns at the time, yeah, it made sense because Roman Reigns wasn't necessarily the best at promos until he became the tribal chief, and you could see him getting better and better and better with it. And now, obviously, Roman Reigns doesn't even come close to needing a guy like Paul Heyman. But me personally, I just never felt like there was a true connection, a true partnership between Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. But I was still willing to give it a shot because I was intrigued as to what was going to happen next. And what happened next was the addition of Braun Breaker. And this is where things started to really click. And this is where people started to really get excited because you could see similarities between the Vision and Evolution. And Evolution is my favorite faction of all time. It is one of the most popular factions of all time. And when Braun Breaker got added to the group, you could automatically see the connections that were being made. You had Seth Rollins, who was in the Triple H role. You had Paul Heyman in kind of the Ric Flair role. And then you had Braun Breaker, who could have either been Randy Orton or Batista. Then Bronson Reed comes into the mix, and things started to make a little more sense, and more comparisons started getting drawn. Again, you had Seth Rollins, who was in the Triple H role. You had Paul Heyman, who was in the Ric Flair role. You had Braun Breaker, who was now, we saw, as the Randy Orton of the group. And then you had Bronson Reed, who was kind of the Batista of the group. And right here, this was where I really saw the potential of the Vision starting to shine when it was all four of them. And I still don't understand why we never saw Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed going after the tag team titles, especially when Seth Rollins won the World Heavyweight Championship. When Seth won that title, it was so obvious that WWE should have put the tag team titles on Braun and Bronson. But for whatever reason, they never gave it to us. And I still don't quite understand why. Because in hindsight, I do think that really kind of hurt the Vision in the long run because no one really started to take Braun and Bronson serious because they didn't hold a championship. They were constantly getting beat up. And obviously, things got a little crazy with the whole Seth Rollins faking the injury angle and the ruse of the century coming back and all that. Things kind of got a little weird there. And that was kind of the first indication of maybe this isn't going to work. Because then things started to go south. And this was where we saw Seth Rollins get legitimately hurt. And this was, again, another instance of WWE kind of failing the Vision here because Braun Breaker should have became the World Heavyweight Champion after this. And what continued to not make any sense at all was they had Braun Breaker walking around with the World Heavyweight Championship on his waist, and they never gave it to him. Then he lost to CM Punk, and the Vision was kind of meaningless from that point on because they had no true leader. They tried with Braun Breaker and they just failed by not giving him the World Heavyweight Championship and then having him lose to CM Punk. They didn't have any gold with them. They had nothing. Then you obviously had the Braun Breaker injury, and that's when things went from bad to worse because then you were left with Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman. And bless WWE for trying with Bronson Reed, but then he got hurt. And we obviously had everything with the whole masked man situation, and that was kind of happening at the same time Braun Breaker was still trying to figure things out, and it was before he got hurt, and it, everything just started getting messier and messier. And then Austin Theory joined the group, and things kind of got a little more exciting because we were all kind of speculating as to whether or not Austin Theory was a double agent working for Seth Rollins, and that ended up not being the case at all. Then we had Logan Paul join the group for some strange reason, and then he gets hurt. So it just felt like there was all of these opportunities for the WWE to make the Vision into a legitimate, strong looking group, and they just never did. And it just felt like they never really pulled the trigger once Seth Rollins got injured. So, why did the Vision fail? We can obviously look at the booking decision as a major reason as to why they have failed, but one of the other big reasons in my mind is the fact that no big stars were created out of the Vision. Obviously, the big name that joined was Braun Breaker. This was a guy who, when he joined, was viewed as the future face of the WWE. And honestly, him joining the Vision has kind of hurt him in a way because now we've seen guys like Obafemi, Trick Williams, and even Javon Evans in some ways kind of become the new faces of the WWE, while Braun Breaker is still kind of there. So it didn't necessarily help Braun Breaker in any way. It honestly feels like it kind of hurt him at this point. And again, they tried with Bronson Reed, and it was kind of working. And people do still want to see Bronson Reed come back, but ultimately, I just don't think it's going to lead anywhere. So it didn't help with Bronson Reed. It didn't really help with Austin Theory, and bless them again, they're trying with Austin Theory, and again, it's done more harm for him than good, it feels like, but at least he's on TV and he's not, just in catering with Grayson Waller all the time. And again, this was a group that was being heavily compared to Evolution. And if you take a look at Evolution, Randy Orton and Batista, they automatically became much, much bigger stars than when they initially joined the group. And I would even look at the Bloodline as being a better faction than the Vision was, because at least with the Bloodline, it's made bigger stars out of it. Look at guys like Sami Zayn. When Sami initially joined the Bloodline, he was a nothing character with a just bizarre gimmick, but he made it work and it made him into a bigger star. Jey Uso became a much bigger star. Even Solo Sikoa, I would argue, became a bigger star. And yes, I realize that the Bloodline may not necessarily be the best comparison because, let's call a spade a spade, WWE treats the Bloodline like true kings. But let's look at another group that has been one of the longest running groups the WWE has had in recent years. That's the Judgment Day. And I firmly believe that there is a reason as to why the Judgment Day are still here. After how many times have we sat here and thought to ourselves, maybe this is the end for the Judgment Day? But in my mind, the reason why they're still here is because they make bigger stars out of their members. Rhea Ripley became an absolute megastar once she left the Judgment Day. Damian Priest became a much, much bigger star when he left the Judgment Day. And if you take a look at the current group of the Judgment Day, Dominic Mysterio is a much, much bigger star than where he was when he joined. And I think even someone like Liv Morgan has also become a bigger star with the Judgment Day because her being in the Judgment Day and her being this heel character really allowed her to nail this heel character. And this is someone who has been very, very critical of Liv Morgan in the past. I love what she's doing as a heel. She is a great heel. And I would even argue that Raquel Rodriguez, when it's all said and done, easily can be a much bigger star than where she was when she first joined. Roxanne Perez is kind of a different story because she is still very, very young and the potential is there, but she went from NXT pretty much right up to Judgment Day. When JD McDonough joined, not a lot of people knew much about JD McDonough, and now people want to see JD McDonough matches because he is a phenomenal worker. And I'm completely forgetting about Finn Balor here. Finn Balor was a guy who was kind of in a weird spot when he first joined, and now people wanted to start seeing more and more Finn Balor when he was in the tail end of his career with the Judgment Day. So the Judgment Day has consistently been able to make bigger names, bigger stars out of their members. And that is where I ultimately feel like the Vision failed. Because the guys who seriously could have benefited from this, Braun Breaker, again, when he first joined the Vision, he was a guy that people saw as the future of the WWE. And now he's behind Obafemi, Trick Williams, even Javon Evans. So my last question, do you think the Vision should end? Do you think this should be the end of the Vision and you don't want to see any more of the Vision? Or do you want to see more of the Vision? And this is obviously where I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on the Vision in general, and let me know why you think they failed. Maybe you have a different thought than I do, and also let me know if you want to see more from the Vision or if you want to see them completely just end. As always, don't forget to leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section, and while you're down there, swing by the description and click the Linktree link. That is the only link in the description for a reason. That is because it'll take you to all of the social media platforms for this channel. I do strongly suggest going and checking out our X page besides YouTube. I am most active over on X. We do updates for Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and the PLEs. And we are also over on Instagram and TikTok as well. Over there, you can expect clips from these videos, and it's just another place for me to post when I do upload a video on here to YouTube. So if you do enjoy these videos and you're looking for some extra content, again, Linktree link in the description. It'll take you to wherever you want to go. So with all that said and done, that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. Again, both are free, both really help out the channel a lot. And of course, if you have made it to this point of the video, I want to say thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch these videos here, because it genuinely does mean the world to me. And as always, stay tuned for more WWE content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.